Is up, everybody? Happy Monday for those of you tuning in on a Monday. And as always, thanks for finally getting to us. This is Ask Nick. Rochelle is with us. Shug has been, as you guys noticed, hasn't been here. She will be back from time to time, but Shug has been busy working on other aspects of her career, and so we've had to.
She's so successful.
We've had to suffer without her.
I know.
But
sweet Shug.
Sweet Shug. Another great episode. Some great nuggets in here.
Didn't I one time I was like, yes! I got so excited I screamed a little bit. You said it was a good thing you said.
Listen, I always love your enthusiasm. What's been going on with you, Rochelle?
Wow. I feel like sad about this, but not much.
That's okay.
Is it? I don't want to get back on dating apps, but I feel like it's about time. What's been going on with you? I feel like I always have to share and you never have to share.
I share a lot.
No, tell me.
I haven't too much. I tried to. I was in a conflict with a person, and I tried to make a reach out and
Was this the football girl from last?
No, this is not a dating situation.
Oh,
okay. Sometimes people. You have to agree to disagree.
Yeah. You couldn't resolve it.
It just yeah. I always get frustrated by that because I know like sometimes we get emotionally invested in our own lives and sometimes things are said and then I always try to remind myself, maybe I'm just being sensitive about this and maybe this person's being sensitive. So. Let's just acknowledge that. And then I reached out to this person and said, hey, I know we've been at odds. The response was almost like,
what did they say? It
was more like, I kind of was just like, well, hey, listen, if I've said anything to frustrate you, I apologize for that.
Yeah.
These are my frustrations. But again, this might just be a miscommunication. My point of this is to simply say, hey, let's just be cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it just seemed to
make it worse?
Not make it worse, but it didn't really accomplish anything. And the person didn't. I was surprised by they only seemed to understand the things that they were frustrated at me at, and complete dismissal of anything
they did,
or even acknowledgement that it was frustrating.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, how much do we invest in trying to always be on good terms with anyone? And sometimes do we just have to try to let things go? I don't know.
Yeah,
tough.
letting things go, I think, is good to do.
It is. And I sometimes struggle with that balance of, do I need to was it good for me to reach out just because I felt like, I was not necessarily trying to be the bigger person, that sounds condescending, but trying to just do what I could to resolve any potential conflict?
Yeah.
And did I need to get the response I want? I don't know. I sometimes struggle with that.
Yeah.
But that's been going on.
Here's one thing. I'm flying to New York for a wedding next week, and I'm not invited to the ceremony.
Huh?
They're having a private ceremony. I'm invited to the reception.
How private?
Just the people in the wedding and family.
Okay.
But I've known him so long. I feel like he's family.
But if it's what I'm saying is if it's specific to the people in the wedding and family, then I don't think you should feel.
All my friends are in the wedding, and I'm like, ugh.
Do you feel like you should be in the wedding?
Well, it's just literally our whole group of friends. Everyone else is in the wedding, and it's I'm not going to be there. It's just such a bummer.
It's tough.
I know.
Who is this person?
I went to college with him. Yeah.
Him.
Yeah.
And are there any? What about her? Do you know her?
Yeah.
Through him?
Yeah, just through him, yeah.
And are the other people standing up, are any of them all women?
One of them is, yeah.
And then who is that person in relation to him?
His best friend's wife.
His best friend's.
But they lived together for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
I totally get where
But you know what I mean? It just feels
I totally get it. But because they decided to have this very specific ceremony.
Yeah.
I think you can give yourself permission to not be sensitive about it.
Okay.
Which I totally get why you would be.
Yeah.
But it's not a personal attack on you. It's just more for whatever reason, they decided to have this very intimate ceremony. And then like one of those things, well, once we let Rochelle, like there's probably a bunch of other people who feel the way you do. And they're like, well, fuck, if we do this, we for whatever reason, they decided to have this intimate ceremony.
Yeah.
And we always have to remember when it comes to weddings, it is their day.
I know. It's so hard for me. I don't know why I like always get upset. I always get hurt.
You have the right to be hurt.
Yeah.
But also like, don't make it right. I mean,
don't make it about you.
But I totally get that.
Yeah.
It's tough though, because especially with weddings,
tough.
it's a really
You're like, okay, that's where I
feel
that's where our friendship lines up. Okay.
I feel affected by this, but this is so not about me. Yeah. And like, but you have the right to feel the way you do.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to give yourself permission to not be personally.
I'm just gonna have to tell myself every day. Don't be personally affected. Yeah.
Go have fun.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna mention it.
What you don't get on that fucking flight and ruminate about
I know.
this.
Don't think about it.
The ceremony, you're fucking miserable.
Yeah.
No,
okay,
like,
I won't do that.
You really, really, and also to be honest, do you really give a shit about the ceremonies? I mean, it's nice. I get emotional. I get emotional if I'm there, but like they're boring.
I want to be there. I want to be at the brunch after. You know what I mean? It's like, ugh.
Oh, you can't be at the brunch after?
Right?
I'm asking, are you not invited to that either?
I'm not invited.
They want it intimate.
I know.
It's fine.
Or else he hates me. One of the two.
It's funny.
Our friendship means nothing.
It's funny, but those are the things you're actually thinking about.
Yeah.
Does he hate me? Did I get a pity invite? No. They have a very small reception.
We've got a great episode.
We have a great episode.
Deep questions.
All our little ticks. I like your story. These little ticks we have that
I'm a mess.
We all are. I mean, fuck, I do shit like that all the time.
Yeah.
I think we all are constantly in our heads about our own insecurities.
Yeah.
Why? I have learned, and I try to remind myself, everyone's just worried about themselves.
I know, yeah.
So
it ain't that heavy.
It's not. And it's not that he hates you. He just is focused on probably his wife and what.
Yeah, for sure. She wears the pants, yeah.
Wow.
All right.
There you go. Another great episode.
Yeah.
So let's get to it.
Woo!
BetterHelp, Rochelle. Well,
this is the perfect sponsor for you.
It really is. We talk a lot on our shows about the need for professional help.
Yeah, and that it's okay to get help.
That it's okay, and that it is a great resource when you're dealing with any type of problem in your life or relationship.
Any type. Yeah, I like that.
We appreciate people calling in, but, you only get a few minutes with us.
Yeah.
And you can get as much
can't be your
of a
therapist.
professional or therapist with BetterHelp as you need. And it's very accessible anywhere you go, all around the world.
No excuses.
Certainly you have the comfort of privacy. It's just a great option. We're huge advocates for it. So
you can do it through text, chat, phone, and video.
It's
however you feel comfortable.
It's such an easy way and just try it. Have you ever thought about going to therapy?
Yeah.
I think maybe sometimes the stigma, like, the first time going to a gym, it's like, then you have to go and sign up, and
it's a little scary.
So just go to BetterHelp.
Yep.
It's right there in the comfort of your safe space. Well, you can get BetterHelp, and best of all, it's a truly affordable option. The Viall listeners get 10% off your first month with discount code VIALL. So why not get started today? Go to betterhelp.com/VIALL. Simply fill out a questionnaire to help them assess your needs and get matched with a counselor you'll love. That's betterhelp.com/Viall. ButcherBox. Well, I'll tell you what, Rochelle, I know they're doing a lot of great things and you can get into that, but I just want to say,
what?
I love meat.
You're a good cook.
I am.
I don't know why I was surprised.
I'm not going to say I am. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm a meat eater. I could try to maybe not eat as much, but I love it. Whatever. Bacon, pork, red meat, chicken. I'm a fan of it all.
You don't discriminate.
I do not discriminate.
And salmon comes in these yummy.
And I'm very particular about my meat.
You are?
Very particular. The quality of meat matters in the, like a good steak.
Oh,
pork
yeah.
Chop,
oh,
huge.
yeah.
And I'll tell you what, ButcherBox has some great meat.
They the woman from Butcher Box was telling me that they basically made pork to be the other white meat, chicken, but Butcher Box's pork tastes completely different than the stuff that you're buying in the store. It's so tasty. Did you find that to be true?
I remember really enjoying my pork chop.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't give a thought. I mean, different in the sense it just seemed like a really juicy, tasty piece of meat. I loved it, and it was just very convenient. And
what did you make?
Well, I've made a steak with it. I made pork chops, and I had sides with it. I like to grill on the chicken as well. They also had really great bacon that I have with eggs. I mean, I can go on and on. I mean, I made it all, Rochelle. I like to have a protein or a meat with every meal, and sometimes it's salmon, pork, steak, chicken, ground beef.
Yeah.
And I've like to make it all. I made tacos last night with my bitter beef. Nice. It was delicious, and it was there, and I didn't have to go to the grocery store. Boom.
Yeah. She said the cows get released into the field and they don't even see them again until slaughter.
So they live a full life.
Amazing. Yeah.
Right now, Butcher Box is offering new members ground beef for life. What? That's 2 pounds of ground beef in every box for the life of their subscription, plus $20 off their first box.
What?
I had tacos last night.
Yeah.
With my ground beef.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Oh, good.
But now, like, for life?
For life. That's insane.
Well, just go to butcherbox.com/Viall or enter promo code VIALL at checkout. That's butcherbox.com/Viall or enter promo code VIALL at checkout and get your ground beef for life. That's some tasty meat.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
All right, name and age.
I'm Kelly, and I'm 27.
What's up, Kelly? How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
So good. Thank you for asking. How can we help?
Yeah. So I have this friend who I've known for a very long time. She's never been in a relationship before, but she recently started dating this guy a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends and I are all really excited for her because he's really great. But she just told us that they're already looking to buy a house, get married, and have a kid all within the next year. And I know how The Bachelor works because, you know, this happens all the time, right? But I feel like everybody on the show has been in a relationship prior and has a general idea of what they want out of a relationship. And not to mention, he just got out of a long-term relationship. So I feel like they're on different pages. But overall, I'm just concerned that she's rushing into things and getting caught up in these feelings without taking the time to think, do I really want to spend forever with this guy? So my question is, how do you approach this conversation without hurting her feelings? Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's not really my business if she's happy, but I do care about her, you know?
Yeah. You're right on all of that. How old is your friend?
27 as well.
Okay. And when you say it's her first relationship, like has she dated? Is she a virgin? Like, how inexperienced is this person?
She's had like flings, I guess,
Okay.
but I feel like guys just really use her for a hookup, you know? And
What?
she's had,
When you say that, what do you mean by guys use her for a hookup?
like, they just hang out, have a couple of dates, and they have sex every now and then, but it doesn't really go beyond that, and she just ends up getting ghosted.
And with most of these men, is she expressing a desire to date them? And then they...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she's wanted to define the relationship and be able to call them her boyfriend, but I feel like when she's brought that up, it's just kind of scared the other guy and turned him away.
Okay. Other than... Do you think she's a super kind of, I don't know, aggressive in that kind of almost over anxious? I mean, why do you think she's scaring these guys away? Other than maybe is it Is it her bad taste in men, or is she maybe, in fairness, you love her, she's great, but like a little,
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think she definitely picks the wrong guys, but along with that, she does come on a little too strong, like trying to define the relationship maybe too early. So I don't know what's different about this guy, but I'm just glad she's happy. But
How long have they been dating for?
About 3 months.
3 months. And you like him? He's nice?
Yeah, he's great. I've met him like once.
So you met him once. You don't really know him.
Yeah, I don't really know him, but like, he definitely cares about her from what I observed and from what she's told me.
And all this information about buying a house, having a kid, getting married, this, I'm presuming it's all from her, and you really have no idea his state of mind?
Sorry, what was that?
I'm assuming all this information about her planning on getting married or buying a house and having kids is all coming from her, like not from them.
Yeah, I mean, she said that he wants it too. So I guess they're both ready, but I'm not sure, like, who initiated that and who's really pushing.
And so she's been your best friend for most of your life. I mean, minus her dating life, do you guys have the type of friendship where you feel comfortable calling each other out on your bullshit?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, she's definitely called me out for some men that I've dated, not in an aggressive way. She kind of tries to like sugarcoat it and be like, well, he's really like, he's okay. But she'll never like flat out say he's not a good guy for you.
Sure. I mean, listen, it's tough, right? You're right to kind of worry about how to say it because this is a very exciting time for your friend, the way you're describing it, and the fact that it sounds like she's always wanted a boyfriend and it just hasn't worked out for her. And well, I would say she's still young at 27. There are a lot of people out there, at 27, you want to meet a guy, you want to settle down, and maybe she's feeling that kind of pressure that she's put on herself, and she's just very excited. If this is her first boyfriend, I mean, I've been there. I think we all have, especially for that first one. It's totally very exciting to, especially if you meet someone who seemingly shares that excitement, and you kind of go down a path. I mean, I think the best way I would start it is just to be very supportive. So I wouldn't like treat it like an intervention, because ultimately we don't know if there's an issue here, because maybe he is the man of her dreams. Maybe it is her person. Maybe they will get married. We don't know that, but I think it's right for you to safely assume that regardless, she's probably rushing things a little bit. So I would come in very positive and just say, I'm really happy. He seems like a great guy. I'm really excited for you. But like, what's the harm in like slowing it down a little bit? Like, don't have to buy a house and things like that. And, the kid stuff, listen, if he is your guy, just remind him he's not going anywhere. Buying a house or having a kid, sometimes we do these things to, kind of subconsciously lock it down. Maybe she has some angst about these guys who have ghosted her in her past, who have left, and it's just like, wait, you want to buy a house with me? Sure, fuck it, let's sign. Where do we sign? You want to have a kid with me? Well, you can't leave after that, kind of thing. And so there's some things here hard for you to point out because she's not going to notice that. She'll probably get defensive. So I would just be really supportive and excited for her and just give her confidence in the relationship. Don't lean on her insecurities about the fact that he might leave. I would spend a lot of time first getting to know him, right? And I would probably go out of your way to try to spend some time with him as a couple and kind of vet it out for yourself and get to know him, kind of see where he's at. And if you really believe in this relationship, make her feel confident about it. Because my guess is, just based off what you're telling me, she still has some insecurities about it, which is why she probably is in a rush to do all these things. I think I've been there. We all kind of do these things when we're trying to like make sure like, well, how do you not leave? Let's do all these permanent things. So get to know him, and if you think it's a confident thing, just say, wow, that you guys are great, and this is, I really believe in this, and make her feel confident about it. And if she's still talking about doing these things, say, hey, listen, if you guys want to do that, I support you. But also, sometimes rushing these big steps can, sometimes bring out, bad things into a good situation. Sometimes if you create the stress points that come with buying a house or having a kid, even with the most amazing couple, those can be very stressful situations. They can, and they don't have a really good foundation of how to communicate. They could ruin a relationship, and maybe remind her of that. But this is after you've kind of pumped her up and made her feel confident about herself and her relationship. Would be my advice. It's a tough situation, but I think if you come in hot and you come in kind of critical, she's just going to get defensive. And she's going to say things like, why can't you just be happy for me? I finally found this, and he's a great guy. So don't make her feel like you're not happy for her. It's a real fine line. I think it's kind of tricky, just really make her feel confident about what she has. But why I say get to know him is because we don't really know what he thinks, I'm not saying not to believe her, but who knows, right?
Is it even her place, though, to say anything as a friend?
I mean, they're friends, right? If it's your best friend, I want to, everyone has friends for different reasons. I want to have my closest friends. I want to have the type of relationship with my closest friends that they can check me from time to time if I'm leading more emotionally and not with my head in situations where I'm vulnerable because of my insecurities, right? We all can be insecure at times. And when we lead with those insecurities, I want to have people in my life to be able to check me, as long as it's coming from a good place. But again, that's why I wouldn't rush to judgment. I wouldn't come out and say, hey, sit down, like, don't do this, because who knows? This could all be a great thing. If he is sincere and they're mutually feeling each other and they're just ready to settle down, hey, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. I mean, you know her more than we do. But I mean, is it her place? I guess it just depends on the relationship. Kelly's entitled to her opinion, and her friend is entitled to get offended by it if she doesn't like it. I just think be supportive. And my guess is your friend's feeling a little insecure, even though she's excited and confident. If the story you're painting is accurate, that she's dated all these guys throughout the years and always liked a guy, and then he always ghosted her, and then she's finally met this guy that she also likes, who likes her back. Most people tend to want to, rush to lock it down, so to speak. That's I would assume, a natural reaction. So try to make her feel confident.
Part of me feels like she's trying to get to that point because most of my friends are. Like, we've all either been in a long-term relationship or some of us are married,
Yeah.
So I feel like she thinks that she might be behind, and she needs to maybe essentially follow that stereotype that you need to have everything figured out by the time you're 30, which isn't really the norm anymore, but I can see like why she thinks that.
What's your dating situation?
I've been in a relationship for 3 years, and I dated a guy before for 5 years.
So you're not but you're not married with kids on the way or anything like that.
No, I'm not. And I guess that's why I'm more like concerned for her, because I dated someone for 5 years and it didn't work out. And like, this could go two ways, because for 5 years you feel like you know somebody and then you don't marry them. So you think like, how long do I need to wait before I get married?
Yeah.
Or, is it just kind of like when you know?
It all depends.
And that's a whole different question.
The truth is, there's so many variables, right? Like you don't want to make sure that you're not projecting your own bullshit onto your friends. So you could be doing a little bit of that. You guys are the same age. So you dated this guy for 5 years. So you met a guy early in your 20s, right? And when we're younger, we haven't totally, we have less experience, and we figured out. So you spent those 5 years dating one guy. It seemed like he maybe might be for your ever at time to time, but over the course of 5 years, you guys grew apart. Your friend wasn't in a relationship, but she had the luxury of dating a bunch of different guys. So it doesn't mean she might have, in a sense, more experience about all the different guys that are out there than you, right? And now she's finally settled down on this one guy. I mean, all I'm saying is you do want to be careful of not projecting your own bullshit onto her. That doesn't mean doesn't mean you don't have the right as a friend just to just point it out. You know, you're not judging her or the relationship. You're just simply saying, you've met this guy for 3 months and you're right. Like, realistically speaking, she doesn't know him that well. It's 3 months. Like, she doesn't, right? It takes years to truly get to know someone and then share those experiences. And it's definitely a risk on your friend's part to buy a house with someone she's known for 3 months. Like, it may work out, but it's a risk, right? It's definitely a risk to seek to get pregnant with someone you've only known for 3 months. It might work out, but it's a risk. So it's fair to point that out, but just, you know, you want to make sure like your life experiences have been very different. So, and if all you're suggesting is, listen, if he's your guy, he's not going to go anywhere. So, you know, why don't you spend the first year of your relationship really just enjoying each other? You don't have to plan anything. Yeah. Take trips together. Get to, you know, have fun, you know, because if they do buy a house and start having kids, it's going to very much change that relationship. And they'll probably wish they took more trips together and spent more time with each other. So maybe play that angle in terms of like, you know, really just enjoy each other. And if he's not, you know, if he's your guy, he's not going to go anywhere. Right. And just, again, I just think she tried to make her feel confident as much as possible about this relationship. And she may just realize that on her own, that she doesn't need to rush it. And my guess is this desire to rush it is coming from a little bit of place of insecurity on her part because she's never had this before and she's probably trying to lock it down. But, you know, you guys you've had very different dating lives, and being single and dating a bunch of guys is experience in itself. And you've had experience in a relationship, but less experience dating a bunch of guys, right? You know, I'm not knocking what you've done, but someone could say like, well, Kelly, you've only dated 2 guys. How do you really know what you know, kind of thing?
Like, what do you know?
So everyone's experience is different. So, but I think good friendships are the ones where you can have honest conversations and you don't get defensive. And there's a small group of people in your life that know you and that you're willing to get critical feedback, whether they're right and wrong or wrong. And that when someone that you love and you trust points something out to you, you just simply say, well, let me think about that because you know me and I trust you. Whether I agree or not, I won't get immediately defensive. So hopefully you guys have that relationship. And if you do, just be supportive and just point out her options. That's all. But we don't know. We don't know whether this is a bad situation for her or it's going to be a mistake. You know, I think you just love her and you want her to not make unnecessary risky choices if she doesn't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So hopefully that's helpful.
No, definitely it is. Because like Rochelle said, this might not be your business, you know, but I want to be able to be there for her, and I want her to lay out everything and think about everything, because it is a huge, like you said, risk and decision to make, and you know, it just has to be a well thought out decision.
Yeah. I mean, again, I kind of just said it, but I don't. It just depends on your friendship, right? It would be weird for you to randomly go up to someone you've barely met and point this out, but you know. Again, I can only speak for myself. I hope I want people in my life that, you know, can just check me. Like I said, it doesn't mean they're right or wrong, but like I'm willing to listen to their conversations and critical feedback, whether I take it or not. It's important to have people like that in our lives. And so I kind of give my closest friends permission to always do that. And I hope that I am willing to listen, and I want to have friends that are open to me doing that because we just want the best for each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. All right, Kelly, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah, thank you. All
right,
thank
take
you.
Care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have you heard of the crabs in the bucket thing?
No, what's that?
Well, it's like if there's crabs in a bucket and one tries to get out, the other crabs pull it back down. Like I wonder if that's like if a woman is doing something different than the rest of the group, if they're like, hey, like you can't do that. Like we all are doing the same thing. We're all like in a relationship right now, or we're all single right now.
I think people again do that as much. I mean, I don't know if it's a man or a woman thing.
Yeah.
I think parts of our lives, there's this kind of stage in our lives where, you have high school, you have college, and then in your 20s, you still kind of have this strong friend group.
Right.
Especially nowadays, people are settling down earlier in life. So even after college, you generally have your friend group, right?
Yep.
And then you start dating and you have serious relationships, but I think a lot of people have their close friend group, and then into your late to mid 20s or early 30s, when people start actually like getting married and having kids, those slowly change. And I think that is a part in your life, your late 20s, where it's definitely an adjustment period in your life.
And if someone's out of line, you're like, wait, you need to be like me.
Yeah, it can be scary, and you can want to hold on to that group. But
Right.
some people do it first, and yes, I think that projecting goes on. And like we pointed out for Kelly, who knows? Maybe, I think we brought it to light that maybe she could be projecting, but it didn't seem like she's thinking illogical.
She's not.
Everything she said, let's assume everything she said is true.
Yeah.
That her friend dated a bunch of guys that she wanted to date but didn't want to date her.
Yeah.
She finally met a guy. She's only dated him for 3 months.
Yeah.
According to her friend, they seem to be on the same page, but they're also talking about marriage, kids, and buying a house. Like we said, for all we know, this could be her guy. It all works out.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's a risk, right? And so we're just trying to, if you have a friend in that situation, how do you bring that up? And I just think, again, if what Kelly is saying is true, then my guess is her friend is still a little insecure. Like she has it, she believes in it, but she's like, I mean, I would be, if I wanted something so bad and I finally thought I have it, you feel like, how do you protect it? How do you
hug it so hard, you strangle it and then it dies.
Exactly, right? So, there's all these analogies of the crabs in the bucket, great analogy, and I think that's applicable. And I also think when we do that, we kind of squeeze the shit out of something we don't want to lose, and it sounds like her friend might be doing a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to get Kelly to figure out how to tell her friend to like, still hug it, hold it, keep it close, protect it, but don't strangle the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Again, spend your first year having fun, because kids and buying a house isn't really gonna lock anything down. It's just gonna make it really difficult to get out of it. The story is from Becky.
Oh, about oils?
Well, I don't want to give it away, but Becky has this little story, and her story is, I had been wanting to dive into essential oils for a long time, having heard so much positive feedback from people that use them daily. But I got easily overwhelmed at all there is to know, which is why Natural Habits got started. Natural Habits oils makes it so easy.
That's true.
And I started with the bundle of roll-ons and use them each and every day. I had less anxiety meds, less medicine for headaches, less coffee, and I haven't been sick since I started using them.
Wow.
And I love knowing that the products I'm using are USDA organic and safe. Now I use both the roll-ons and the diffuser blends daily, and I'm just absolutely loving them. I recommend them to everybody.
Oh, yay.
From our customers, from Becky. Thanks, Becky. We appreciate your reviews.
Becky with a good review.
Again, we're still back to school season.
Yeah.
Your kids are going into school. They're hanging out with a bunch of other dirty kids. They're going to get them sick. Our Protect blend is perfect for helping boosting your immune system. Center is great for headaches. Release great for calm sleep and anxiety. And Rise has a great boost of energy, helps you refresh. So their blends, a bunch of different essential oils blended together for all sorts of medicinal benefits. If you are just wanting to scent also your indoor air, know that essential oils are a much safer alternative to the toxic chemicals that are in synthetic air fresheners and candles. NHOils.com. New customers get 20% off with code NATURAL. Check us out. Leave a review.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm 22.
Hi, Jenny.
And hey. And so my question is, how do I express my frustrations, like big or small, or any problem really, to my boyfriend that won't trigger his anxiety or lead him to having an anxiety attack?
So you have this boyfriend. How long you guys been dating for?
Almost a year now.
Okay.
And we're I would say it's like the most serious boyfriend that I've had so far.
Okay. And you're saying that anytime that so does your boyfriend suffer from serious anxiety, or is he just kind of like generally have anxiety? Like
he suffers from serious anxiety.
Okay.
He's actually diagnosed too.
Okay. And so when you guys have any issues or frustrations on your part, you're afraid to express yourself because it seems to trigger his anxiety?
Yeah, I mean, I do still express myself because I'm human and it affects me too. And if I don't get off my chest, I will also I don't want to build up pretty much. But I do try to express it in certain ways that I don't think would trigger him. But sometimes it's like he can't help but to feel so I don't want to use the word sensitive, but sensitive to certain things, or the idea of upsetting me, that really hurts him too.
So he's been diagnosed with anxiety. And what is he doing to help himself in this space?
When we first started dating, I introduced him to essential oils, aromatherapy. I got him a diffuser, and then now I got him back into meditating too, which has really helped a lot. But
what is
I'm just
what is he doing? Sorry? I mean, that's all great, and I'm glad that you seem to love him and are helping him out. But what is he doing for himself regarding his anxiety?
Well, besides meditating, I don't know anything else.
So he's not getting professional help or talking to a therapist on a regular basis?
No.
Does he take medication?
No, he doesn't really want to take medications for it. And he said he would rather deal with it on his own first, or not deal with it, but try to find ways that he could just be stronger in a sense. That's what he says. Yeah.
Listen, it's a tough situation, right?
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer in any situation, especially a dating one, that especially when we're dating, we always want to help our partner and help them be the best version of themselves. But we can't help people, whether we're dating them or they're a friend or a coworker or whatever. You can't help people who don't want to help themselves. And some people, it's harder for them to help themselves. But at the same time, if he's aware that he has anxiety and he says things like, well, I want to do it on my own, then he needs to try to start doing that. You can continue to give him ideas and encourage him and be a supportive person, but it's a really tough position for you to be in. And if he's constantly not willing to do these things, and it's nice that he's meditating and it's great that he uses essential oils, but if he's really diagnosed with anxiety and it's really affecting his life and then your relationship, he should want to actively try to find a routine and ways to try to deal with his anxiety. And it's not always going to work, and there's going to be ups and downs, but if it's just having this mindset that I will deal with it, and then subsequently, anytime you get frustrated or say something to him, and then he's like, well, that makes me anxious, and now I'm mad. It's just this slippery slope. I mean, again, like you said, you are human, and you have the right to express your frustration. So it's how do you communicate with someone who, if every time you're afraid of just even calmly or pointing something out, it's quote unquote triggers their emotion? It's it seems to be unfair. And I don't know if your boyfriend's doing this. Sometimes we have a way of using our shortcomings or weaknesses or things that we struggle with as a way, as an excuse to get out of things, as a defense mechanism. To say, well, that makes me anxious, don't do that. And again, I don't know a lot about what's going on, but I will, it's if he's not willing to go out of his way to say, I want to find different ways to be less anxious, short of just don't be mad at me or just don't get frustrated at me. That's a tough situation for you to be in. And then I think you just have to ask yourself, are you, sometimes we also try to help people and we can be a little critical too. Like how are you communicating with him? Are you nitpicking or not? Or, it's tough. You don't want to trigger his anxiety by playing on his insecurities. And I think sometimes in relationships we do that, where we get to know each other so well, we realize what bothers them and what doesn't bother them. And sometimes when we're mad, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but sometimes when we're fighting, we subconsciously know how to hurt the other person and point things out that bothers them. Those can be things that you just want to be mindful that you're not doing. But my biggest takeaway is you have to try to encourage him to want to help himself. And I think the essential oils is great. I think the meditation is great. But sometimes if he really is suffering from this, there's other things he needs to do. And I think it's always good to, seek professional help and talk to someone who can help that person work through it, maybe help them give a routine to help deal with anxiety when it comes up, when they feel things like anxiety, when they feel that anxiety coming in. How do they handle that? There are things and steps and things you can do to try to work through it. So
what kinds of stuff is he saying like triggers his anxiety that you do?
I would say like just the idea, like honestly, like the idea of like him doing something that might have upset me. And that like saddens him to the point where it's like it really puts his mind into like a state of shock, almost like he feels like he's done everything that he's done, like to prepare and like to like not make me upset, yet I still like there's something that like goes wrong that like still makes
he's
me
like
upset.
I'm a failure, I can't do anything right.
Like he would say things like I feel like I really I really failed you today, or like I would
see that's not okay, because then she can't say anything.
No, it's not okay. And again, it's a tough situation. It's a really tough because, and again, I don't know your boyfriend, but the truth is sometimes, whether it's on purpose or subconsciously, it's a way people manipulate other people too.
It is. Instead of being like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's just like, well, because then you're constantly on the defensive.
Yeah,
again,
then you're saying sorry.
For all I know, you're a total bitch. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he does say sorry. Like I know that I truly do know that like he's not the type to manipulate
I'm
me
not
at all.
saying
But
he's deliberately
he does say sorry, but
it.
sometimes like
it's not deliberate.
like.
It's just you guys have gotten in this weird pattern, right? He has this anxiety. You guys both know it. It's validated by being diagnosed. So it's just like, oh, hey, I have anxiety, right? I just get back to the point of he needs to like, what you can do regardless is hold him accountable for helping himself. He needs to want to help himself. And just saying, I'm going to be strong and deal with it is not helping himself. And that's neat that he's using essential oils. And as much as I believe in essential oils, it's not a cure for anxiety. It helps you get through it. It helps you calm down. But like, it's an ongoing battle of finding what triggers you and then dealing with it. And then meditation helps. But like sometimes if he is diagnosed professionally with anxiety, then he might need a professional to help him deal and get through it, right? You need to be in a place where like you should be able to talk about it. And if he's constantly setting you up to say, well, I'm afraid I'm going to fuck up and I'm afraid I'm going to do this, whether he means to or not, that's in a way of manipulating and then you're on edge. And then you're constantly like, well, what if I do get mad? Am I even allowed to express myself? It's just right now you guys have created this pattern that's only going to get worse if it doesn't get better, because you're both going to be walking on eggshells. He's walking on eggshells afraid of getting you mad. You're walking on eggshells being like, well, if I am mad, how do I communicate it? Because I don't want to have him spiral into this kind of rabbit hole. But what is he doing to help that situation out? Right. And I think that's the root of it, because he needs to help himself so that you guys can communicate when problems arise. Because in any relationship, whether you're in an early relationship or if you guys continue to date, relationships all have problems, and relationships that always have stress points where you guys frustrate each other. Everyone does. The best ones do. It's the ones that get through it, know how to communicate, and you guys are in a situation where you don't seem to. So I would just, try to figure out, well, okay, fine. If this makes you anxious, how are we going to deal with this? I commend him from not wanting to rely on medication, but what is he going to do? Right? Doing nothing isn't an option.
But I'm sorry, that phrase, commending someone not wanting to be on medication.
I'm just saying, just if I'm not, whether you do or not.
That's your choice, but it doesn't make you a stronger person or better.
I'm just saying, I'm commending for the desire for him to try not to.
Okay.
That's it. If he wants to, great. If he needs to, fine. But listen, we do live in a society that sometimes that is a first option. It doesn't need to be. You don't think so? I mean, if your doctor recommends it, fine. But there's a whole nother conversation of the medical industry and how quickly people choose to medicate. But listen, if you need medication, if he needs it, he should be on it, right? It just all depends. I mean, there's so many layers to it. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. And maybe men.
It's a lifestyle change.
Yeah. Listen, all I'm saying is he needs to do something. And it sounds like, based on what you're saying, he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Really, to figure out, meditation is one little thing. Aromatherapy is one little thing, but that's not solving the problem. That's just helping him deal with it when it comes on. But this kind of rumination he's doing and preparing for you to be mad, and then gives him anxiety. That's what he needs to figure out how not to do. And it might be hard. I don't think it's your responsibility to figure out how he should do that.
Yeah, I mean, every person has their own way of handling it, and I guess, I don't know, relieving that on their own, because it's his anxiety too, not my anxiety. Even if I were to still face anxiety, a bit of it, on my own, but it's not to his extent. It's not my way of coping.
But I guess what I'm saying, he doesn't keep saying, well, I'm the one with anxiety, and so I get this free pass to react however I react because I'm clinically diagnosed with anxiety. He still has, and if he wants to be in a healthy relationship, and a lot of people have anxiety, are in healthy relationships, it's because they figured out how they can not let that anxiety control their relationship. And he just needs to figure out what his options are. And again, I don't, based on what you're telling me, he hasn't really gone out of his way to whether it's medication, whether it's professional counseling, whether it's more meditation, yoga, some other kind of non-traditional thing. I don't know what that is, but if he's not seeking that out, then he should be doing things, because just saying I have anxiety and then talking about his anxiety to you and constantly making you feel bad about his anxiety so that you can't get mad is not a healthy situation.
Whether it be intentional or non-intentional.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's tough, right? I dated someone who, didn't have the best relationship with her mother, right? And in fairness to my ex-girlfriend, it was her mom was a lot to deal with, right? And it was toxic, And I was always trying to help her out and get through it, but it eventually just became something she wasn't willing to try to do anything about. She just wanted to complain. And at some point I was just well, I don't know what to do here. And so we all date people, we all have baggage, right? And we bring into our baggage into relationships, and we hope that the person we're dating is accepting of our baggage and willing to work through our baggage with us. But we can't date someone and expect them to just accept our baggage no matter what, and then not work on it, or expect them to fix it for us. We have to be aware of what our baggage is, and then work, be responsible to take care of it on our own, with hopefully the help of the people we're with and the people around us. But it's on us first to own that, and then ask for help. But it's not going to get better unless he wants to do something about it, and you can support him through that, and you can encourage him, and you can give him ideas and say, I'm here for you, but it has to come from him. You can't make him want to do it, And so whatever that is, I'm not here to offer the solutions. I'm not a professional in that case, but like I just know there are options, and whatever those options are, just saying I'm not going to do this, I'm just going to be strong is not an option, right? So I think you just got to be supportive. And I think in this relationship for you, you do have to hold him accountable of that, because it won't get better in this current situation. And eventually you will be in a relationship where you feel trapped and like you feel like you can't be heard and then you'll feel like, well, I can't say anything because he has anxiety and what am I supposed to do? And then you'll feel guilty even though like you have a little bit of anxiety, even though like you haven't been diagnosed with it, or like it becomes this kind of weird competition of who has the right to be upset or who has the right to be anxious about a situation, you know? And that can happen.
Yeah.
So
that really helps. Yeah.
Yeah. So be supportive, you know, and it sounds like you are, but ask him like, how can we do this? How can we fix this? What do you want to do? Not doing anything isn't an option.
Yeah. I mean, especially being a person in routine, like him, like he also has OCD. So, I guess it's really hard for him to break out of routine, but building a new routine would be something that's a start.
Have you talked to him about him, you know, getting seeing a therapist or finding?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And?
Multiple times. And he says like, okay, yeah, I'll consider it. Let's see how it goes in 2 weeks. And of course, like in 2 weeks, like, there's nothing that would trigger his anxiety, you know, but I'm very for like getting a therapist. Yeah. Even I like am seeking.
And you're not his therapist, you know, you're his girlfriend. Yeah. So don't try to play both roles. It's a tough situation. There are many variables of this in relationships, of what's that balance between helping our partner out with their baggage and taking it on. And I don't think it's your responsibility to take it on. I think you're there to help him, support him. He needs to lead this charge. And if you never get that sense that he's willing to do that, then it's safe to say it may never get better. And then you have to decide, love him or not, can you really have a relationship with someone who's never willing to figure out their stuff? Because it sounds cold, but I remember this is long ago, but when my girlfriend broke up, you know, I finally ended it, and, you know, we were having a talk, and she was sad, and she was just like, but you know, I have this thing, and kind of threw it in my face.
Not okay.
And I said to her, listen, I've been there for you, and you can't, like, I've tried, and this sounds cold, but it's not my problem anymore.
Wow, that's hard for a lot of people to say.
And I felt really bad because, like, for so much in this relationship, I did try to take it on, and I was constantly trying to give her ideas, and you know, and I felt like, you know, I'm fighting with her, but eventually it was just like, you can't put that on me. It is not my problem. I didn't, you know, and she was really mad at me for that. But like, I had exhausted every option, and I just knew that relationship it became toxic in our relationship.
Well, that's a sign that she wasn't willing to work on it herself. If she was depending on you, if she's saying you're my only support in this, I
mean, she like threw it in my face about like my family, you know, I have a great family, and like my family was very supportive, and truthfully, my family offered her a level of stability she didn't get in her own family. She didn't mean it manipulatively.
I know,
but like,
good for you for recognizing that you didn't need to take that.
Yeah, but the point is like, it's hard in relationships to recognize that. And it took a long time for me to get to that place, and it wasn't easy, and it's hard, and I felt a lot of guilt. But I finally realized that like, I know I did my part, and she refused to do hers. Yeah. And she kept using it more of an excuse and a crutch rather than something she actually wanted to get over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, he realizes that like whenever he does have anxiety attack, like I would drop whatever is bothering me and just comfort him, you know. And in one disagreement that I got, like, it was a pretty big disagreement. He actually like just like paused for a moment and was like, okay, you know, I'm setting my panic attack aside or my anxiety attack aside right now to talk to you.
Oh, good.
But even that's manipulative.
I felt like that was a little backhanded.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
He's just like, I'm going to put my shit aside to talk to you.
It's
Like,
not good.
it's not a favor. Listen, what he probably doesn't realize it, right? And he may not deliberately try to be manipulative, but like people in that situation can eventually subconsciously use it as a crutch, and they end up using it in a manipulative way. I just think you really need to start holding him accountable to help himself out, because people who don't want to help, like, you can't help someone who won't help themselves. And I think you need to remember that and say that to yourself a lot, because you can love someone, but if they're not willing to help themselves, then you really have no shot of helping them. And when they hold on to this thing that they say they want help with, but they really don't, and they end up just like bringing it up every time it almost kind of serves them well and kind of gets them through, and then they end up using it excuses, and it may be a valid excuse, but it's still an excuse, and an excuse that they don't ever seem to want to do anything about. And I think that's the thing you need to figure out. And it's a tough situation, I think a lot of people deal with that.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, you'll figure it out, but like and if he's not your guy, and that's okay, and you'll be okay.
You can't feel bad about whatever the fallout from that is and what he like uses to try and make you feel bad.
It's a really tough thing, because if your situation was anything like mine, for different reasons, like you even become attached to it. I wanted to help her, and I really loved her, and I really cared about her, and it was just it's really tough to do. But it also can be a trap, and
that's what is it? Alcoholics Anonymous. They go to the people who love them. Go to Al-Anonda.
I don't know.
Because there's the role that other people play in other people's problems.
I mean, listen, I think whether you're an addict or have anxiety or whatever, I think we often have a really bad habit of shitting on the people we love the most, because we feel comfortable. We feel safe with them. They won't go anywhere. They won't leave us. And so we have a bad habit of sometimes treating the people we say we love the most the worst. Keep your head up high. You're going to be fine. But I will say, final thoughts, follow your gut. If what we're saying makes you feel down about the future, then maybe there's something in your gut telling you something that what's up, right? If you feel
something that definitely needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Too, and acknowledged.
Yeah. And you're young, and maybe this will work out, but don't ever be afraid to find something that you deserve. This is not your burden. You weren't put on this earth to fix him.
Okay, that's true.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
right.
Jennifer.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Best
Bye.
of luck.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I was listening to this podcast, and this therapist said it's never your responsibility not to trigger someone else. It's their responsibility to know what to do when they get triggered and how to work through that.
I feel like that's what I was kind of trying to say, but in a more long-winded version. But yeah, no, it's totally true. And it's a sticky situation, like especially now at times the victim card or whatever, it's, if you are a victim in whatever that is, and victim of anxiety, victim of alcoholism, that, fine, a victim of a broken home, whatever, that sucks. And it's not fair, but at some point it's on all of us to deal with our own baggage.
I will say it is hard in this country a lot of times to get help, and there is a stigma against medication, against mental illness in general, which makes it hard for a lot of people to go and get the help they need. And so that unfortunately sucks.
It can, but I think it's becoming less and less of a stigma, and we keep talking about it. That's why we talk about it on this podcast. And again, we're not here to knock whether you should take medication or not. I mean, listen, if all things being equal, I think most people would try to avoid it, because taking medication biologically, it's harder to do. Some people will go to that quicker than others. And listen to your healthcare professional on that. And if you want to try to avoid it, great. But that to your point, like if you're going to not take medication, then find it somewhere else. Right. But yes, I feel like we're getting better at that. It's different than it was 5 years ago. I mean, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Seeing it. I mean, I remember once someone told me, I don't remember, but I remember the conversation, and someone's like, if you don't ever see a therapist because it will go on your records and your employer will think you're crazy. That was like an actual thing. I remember hearing that. And I remember being like, wow, really? Ooh. And I was like in my early 20s.
My friend works for the government and he's not allowed to see a therapist. He'll get fired if he does. Isn't that crazy?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He works for works for some, I don't know. He's not allowed to tell me what he does. Isn't that crazy? It's backwards.
I mean, is he like a spy though? I mean, I get like a therapist, they don't want to tell secrets and shit, but all right. What is your name?
My name is Sarah.
How old are you, Sarah?
I am 23, almost 24.
Great. How can we help you, Sarah?
So recently I had a friend come into town to visit, and he brought a buddy with him from my hometown, and I recently moved out here to Colorado. And this buddy and I ended up hitting it off really well and ended up hooking up. And then really quickly it turned all coupley. When I originally, made the decision to hook up with him, it was just with no intentions of it being anything more than that, because they were only visiting for like a week or so. So like I had no expectations beyond that. But as I said, it got really coupley, and he would like hold my hand in front of like our mutual friends, because there's more than just me here. He would send me like good morning text messages, and there would be like a lot of PDA. And he actually sat down and took the time to like get to know me. But anyway, so towards the end of this trip, I was with him in the car, and I was on Facebook, and I showed him that I saw like his name pop up, and I added him on Facebook. But he actually didn't accept the request right away. And he would sit on Facebook over the next like 2 days, like in front of me and like on other people's profiles, but wouldn't actually accept it. And I thought it was really weird. And I ended up going back to his profile and seeing that he was engaged to this girl. Now, before him and I ever hooked up, I found out he had just, openly told me a lot about him, that he actually has a 7-year-old daughter, and a baby mama, obviously, and that he was recently engaged to this girl. So I thought it was really weird that he was still engaged to her on Facebook, and took some time to like accept my request. But then I ended up getting a friend request from him, so he actually ignored it and then changed the status on there. But anyways, so then after he leaves, he like left me a bunch of sticky notes all around my room, trying to be all cute. And then the guy, yeah. And then, I wasn't expecting it. They were like really cute things that you wouldn't just say unless you like had feelings for somebody. And then I got a text message about like 45 minutes after talking to him the night after he left. And it seemed like it was his ex. And she texted me, and what I got was, hey, like I know he wasn't being really truthful from you. Like I learned in the past that, he lies and all this, and that she's like, he has a baby mama, a daughter, and a fiance back home. And I responded, you must be, and then change the names, but I was like, you must be like Anna. The baby mama is Jessica, and his cute 7-year-old daughter is Emily. And
he has a fiance or an ex-fiance, and that's not the baby mama?
No, yeah, they're two different women.
And so the fiance reached out to you?
I think she's the one who reached out to me, but when I responded with that text, she never got back to me. And
so you got like an anonymous text from somebody?
Yeah, I got just like a text message, and I thought it was really.
How did you this is a mutual friend? Like who introduced you?
So I actually kind of met him back in Florida, is where I'm from. I met him sort of. I don't really remember, but he does, and we have a bunch of mutual friends. So
what do they say about him?
So I don't know. Well, one of them, I didn't really know her until I moved out here, but we all had mutual friends. And she was with us when there was like PDA. So I'm wondering if she saw something and was like, wait a minute, and told her, because I don't know how she found out. But she sent me screenshots of a conversation with him and her. And the only thing she like really showed in it, she had like her little typing bar up. And it just showed that like, oh, do you really want to be with this girl? And he said no, which doesn't honestly really mean anything to me, because it's not saying that I'm trying to look for a relationship, but he has mentioned about moving out to Colorado.
So what is
he
your
wants to live out here.
question?
So my question is, am I the mistress, or is there something more to this?
Well, I mean, I don't know. And I won't be able to figure that out with the information you have. I don't know if that's really the issue. I mean, what do you want? Do you want to date this guy?
I mean, it really comes down to if he moves out to Colorado or not, which he was talking heavily about it the entire time he was here. But I mean, I don't want to say I have feelings for him, and I wouldn't really be like bothered if nothing continued, but he's stayed in contact with me even after these text messages between me and his ex.
Okay. Like the fact that he's kept in touch with you after you guys hooked up isn't like, he doesn't get a prize for that. Like that's.
No, I agree with that. And I'm very much open to, like, he said he still wants to come out to visit in the meantime of trying to move out here. And I'm taking everything he says with a grain of salt, because I had no expectations for anything. I just figured it's no fun, like some no strings fun.
Do you like him? I mean,
the thing is,
yes
like,
or no?
There's something very different with him. And I don't want to say that I don't like him, but I do. Mm-hmm. Like, I can see something with him, and he's the first guy that I feel like have.
What can you see?
This kind of. I mean, I can see a future. Like, I'm not bothered by the fact that he has a daughter, which I think is weird, because I feel like normally I would have my walls up about something like this. And I mean, we have a connection that I can't really explain. And it kind of comes into like how he looks at me and how he is with me. Mm-hmm. But he actually took the time to get to know me, and him and I have the same background history.
When you say he took the time to get to know you, what do you mean? Like he asked you a few questions after sex?
Yeah, like I've never had really a guy do that, where like he wanted to know about my family and like about just me in general and like the things that I had been through, because him and I both have the same family history. We both like didn't grow up with like our parents really, and mostly like were raised by our grandparents. Has
that been ongoing? Has he continued to try to get to know you, or has that been a one-off experience?
No, I mean, he's continued to get to know me and has definitely put more effort into making this more of a thing, even though he might have told his ex that like that's not what he wanted. But from my speculation and what I understand and what he has told me, because he was really open about his past and like both these women, like he didn't want to talk so much about the ex, but the baby mama he's like told me a lot about. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, I think it was like really recent that they broke things off and then they got back together, or maybe they were going to work it out, but then he came out here to visit with the expectations that he was done. He told me it was over, but I'm not really sure. He did take off the engagement off of Facebook, so I'm thinking that's like progress. Like maybe he's being truthful, but it's really hard to like tell if he's like who to believe. Like.
Yeah, you say a lot of things when you're talking that you clearly have a lot of reservations about him, and that can be both like those red flags that we talk about and equally exciting to try to figure out, and it keeps you on your toes. What's your relationship history before him? Like, have you had serious relationships?
Yeah, I'm also at college. I was in a really serious relationship, and then when that ended, I moved out to Colorado because this is what I'd wanted to do for the past years. And he didn't seem to really like make that a priority.
Your ex to move to Colorado?
Yeah, my ex. Yeah. So he stayed back in Florida while I moved out here.
And now this guy wants to move to Colorado?
Yeah. And I think he's being serious about it because of like how he's talked about it. I mean, Colorado's amazing. Like everybody comes here and says the same thing, but that's also the problem. Everybody says they want to do it, but nobody, I feel like, actually does.
Sure.
So, I mean, and he also has a lot going on. Like, he has a daughter, and he would have to get full custody of her because he wouldn't want to leave her behind. But that's, I mean, not so much of the topic, but I mean, if he did move out here, I would be open to seeing where it went. Because I haven't had this kind of like bond with somebody. Every other guy that I've dated, they were, you know, like very fortunate to have both their parents. And I think that caused problems in my relationships in the past, that like, they just don't understand me, or maybe like the way I think, or we just don't see eye to eye. And I think with him, we just get each other, and it just seems so like organic and natural, and nothing felt forced. And I mean, I didn't really like think too much into it until he started like acting all coupley, and I thought that was interesting.
So here's the thing. Here's what I think. I think there's a lot going on here, and I think you're kind of projecting a little bit in terms of the things that you haven't had in the past relationship versus the things that you've looked for. You're connecting with this guy based off of these mutual experiences and understanding each other, and that's great, and that's fun to do. It doesn't mean he's your person or you guys have this like amazing chemistry. I don't know the answer, but I wouldn't overhype just like the first guy you've connected with that like you feel like understands you, because your last boyfriends didn't necessarily understand you, right? It takes time to really figure out whether you have a true kind of emotional chemistry with someone and really get to know them. And the excitement of the fact that he's even moving to Colorado and your last one didn't, or the fact that his upbringing was similar to yours, feels really kind of good to it's just a weight off your shoulders, and it's over glorified because you didn't have it before, especially early on. You're just like, oh my God, this is so refreshing. Right. It feels so great. But the truth is, as far as this specific relationship, you don't really know. And you're spending a lot of energy trying to figure out, am I the mistress? Am I the girl he likes? He doesn't even live there yet. So you met a guy. He seems nice. If you're open to continue to talk with him, keep talking about him. Stop trying to figure it out right now because he doesn't live there. You know, you don't have to rush into a situation. There is, the fact that he has a kid is fine. The fact that he has an ex-fiance doesn't make him a bad guy, but he's coming with a lot of baggage. And who knows, maybe this ex-fiance is kind of inserting herself and she's a little mad and jealous, and who knows? You don't really know. So maybe he's the greatest guy ever, and he just dated someone who was a little, and his baby mama was someone they got pregnant early in life, and that's just something he's dealing with. I wouldn't spend a lot of energy trying to figure it out. It'll figure itself out. Let him come to Colorado. And if he keeps talking to him, when you say well, I wasn't all that interested in dating until he talked about interested in dating me, I would caution that kind of mindset of decide for yourself whether you want to date him. Just because a guy's open to dating you isn't I get it. It's just I didn't want to, I want to be the cool chick and just hook up, and that's fine, and I don't want to seem like I'm going to get clingy, but then he started talking about wanting to date me, and then fine, I'm open to it. But if you like him, then pursue it, but take it slow. You don't have to figure it out all in a day, but trust your gut and listen to, pay attention to those red flags. There are some red flags there, and you're saying it.
What do you think the red flags would be?
In your opinion? You know what they are. You're even saying it. You're just well, I kind of trust him. I think I can trust him. I mean, the fact that you're already questioning whether you can trust this guy is a red flag.
He didn't friend you on Facebook. You went back. You saw he was engaged. You didn't know that.
Those are red flags. Also, they might have been justified. Yeah. Maybe he's just I just met this chick. She requested me, and I know my ex-fiance. She's going to flip out, and he was just trying to avoid that.
But why couldn't he tell her that then?
Yeah.
Who knows? Because he just hooked up with her.
He left to do it.
Again.
Which is what I thought was weird. I mean, he left the request open, and then I think at one point after he left, he declined it, because then it that add friend was grayed out, so I couldn't do anything or retract the request. And then I received a request
and this
the next
is all
day in the morning, and I was okay.
And this is all right after you guys kind of first met and hooked up.
Well, this is a week and a half
Sure.
after
Okay, yes.
everything.
So yeah.
Closer to 2 weeks. So he was here, and he stayed at my place, and he slept over in my room every night. We were together every time I wasn't at work.
Yeah, and that's great, but it's still only 2 weeks of knowing someone, and that's not a relationship.
A lot of time.
That's not a relationship, and again, those are red flags. I don't have the answer. All I'm saying is there might be some justified experience. He doesn't really know you. Maybe he got caught up in the excitement of meeting you, and like he is broken up with his ex-fiance, but like, hey, I broke up with my girlfriend once, and I met another girl, and kind of in this honeymoon phase, and she found out I was dating this girl, and then she showed up in the lobby of her hotel room and of her apartment building and refused to leave until I came down. I mean, she was intense. And so like we were broken up. I was completely honest, but I knew that like I didn't want her to know it because I didn't trust how she was going to react.
Who is this?
It was a long time ago. Okay. And so what I'm simply saying is just like, I don't know this guy and I can't try to figure it out, but I do know that like you're getting in the minutia of like Facebook requests and follows and all that bullshit. It's just like, I don't know. And it doesn't really matter. And you're wasting a lot of energy trying to figure it out. You like a guy, keep talking to him. There's some questionable things. These are all potential red flags that if you trust your gut and not trying to like make excuses for him, it'll like, and it'll work itself out. If he doesn't even live here yet. So why are you spending a lot of energy trying to figure out whether you should date a guy who doesn't live there, assuming you don't want to be in a long-term relationship with him? And
yeah, I definitely don't want to be in a long distance relationship or anything like that. And I know I've been very like reserved about being in a relationship recently. Like I've been talking to a couple guys and I've been, going through some other stuff. So I kind of cut that off. But I mean, I think another question that I do have is like regarding this ex and like if that's weird that like it's hard because I don't know how to go about this, and I don't know if I should ask him if like he is being truthful and that like they are broken up, or if I should just kind of let it play out and see
if you like, honestly don't
what happened.
If you question whether he's even actually broken up, that's a huge red flag. I mean, there's something telling you that he's not. I mean, I don't think I don't think Facebook status is the end all be all. If that's the only thing, who knows?
No, exactly.
My guess is there's something more. Like, trust your gut. I think you know, and like you're I think you like this guy. It's exciting. I don't think you're probably over glorifying this mutual connection of him getting you that you haven't had before, and then at the same time you sense these red flags that he's showing. You're trying to like balance that out, and I feel like that's what's going on. It's like you're identifying with this connection, but like, damn it, there's these red flags, and I don't really know if I could trust him, but I want to be able to trust him because like I really like how he makes me feel when I'm with him. But you can't convince yourself to trust someone. So, I mean, we can go on and on about this, but like I just think that right now you're trying to fast forward this relationship and get answers that it might take time. But like, I think you rightfully so might not trust him, and I would pay attention to that, and less than you pay attention to the fact that like it's neat that he recognizes and relates to your childhood.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm so much concerned about like him and I, because I mean, like I know what I want, and I mean obviously I can't really tell what he wants because he hasn't actually said it. I mean he said things like like, where have you been my whole life? And like how might have met you sooner and things like that. But like, and he definitely paints me in this light where like, I'm this perfect person. And it's like I said, I take it as a grain of salt, like, but like
no,
I said,
you don't.
Like,
you want to believe it. You don't.
You're calling into
Listen,
a podcast.
Here's the thing. You really like this guy, and you're making a bunch of bullshit excuses for yourself and your actions and the way you feel, and you're just listen. You want to believe that he's the guy you've always been looking for, and you want to believe he's great and all these things. And the truth is, you don't really know, and you're trying to like call us up and say, and you want me to give you permission to pursue him and like tell him he's the greatest guy. I don't have an answer for you. And so like, I think the moral of this call is you need to do a better job of being honest with yourself and trusting your gut about what you really want. And like, if you want to continue to hang out with him, hang out with it, but take it really slow. And like, if you want to take the risk of continuing to get to know him, knowing that deep down you don't trust him yet and he has some baggage, just know that you are taking a risk. I don't think you should like make that big of a deal about the fact that he is the first person in your young life to connect with about your childhood or your parents and your relationships. You will find more people like that.
But Sarah, we all do this. Like I've done it a million times.
We've
all
done this.
do this.
Yes. Everyone's listening is like, this is a great call.
I've done that. Yeah.
We've all done this.
Yeah.
And, this is a very relatable thing. And it's easy for us to sit here not being invested in your story to be hard on you. But I feel like you need a little bit of tough love here because you're just like, I don't get the sense that you really want to hear what we have to say. I think you're hoping to hear what you want to hear. And that is that that he's a great guy or you want me to tell you that he's an asshole and just definitely don't trust him so that you can just push him away. So I just think you have to really you have to get better at trusting your gut and not making excuses and try not to over glorify
a couple words,
words he says, and it feels good and it's nice.
It's hard. Yeah.
But you're young and maybe be single for a while and let things come along. This whole I wasn't looking for a boyfriend, but then he said he was interested in me. Like wanting a boyfriend and needing a boyfriend are two different things. Like that's good that you want a boyfriend.
I mean, for me, that's not really what it's about because like we've talked about, he doesn't live here. And I mean,
but you want him,
I'm kind of just down for the ride. Just to see where it goes, and like if he wants to come and visit, like that's cool too. But I
don't think you're down for the ride.
It's coming down to is this fiance, this quote unquote fiance, and I'm just trying to figure out like, is it sketchy that like she reaches out to me? Like, how did she get my number?
So you don't even know if it was her, Sarah. And also, you're not down for the ride, right? If you were down for the ride, like you say, you're down for the ride. And that he doesn't live there, you'd be like, I don't know, maybe he does or doesn't have a fiance, but like, not my problem. I'm down for the ride, and like, we'll talk to him, and if he's in town, we'll have some sex, and if he leaves, then whatever. I'm also dating other people. That's what, if you were down for the ride, that's what your mentality would be. But you're not down for the ride. You kind of like him, and you want to figure out whether you, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
But you stop pretending to be down for the ride when you like him, right? And stop
Nick's giving you tough love, but like it's understandable.
You need I think you need a metaphorical kick in the ass right now, because you're spinning your wheels, and you're gonna like this is a recipe of like and I don't know this guy, but he could just be a really good talker, and
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, and this.
I mean, we talked about that, about how like the last guy I dated, he said all the right things and he knew, but I always called him out on him. Like, I feel like you're just telling me
and
what
good
I want
talkers
to hear.
would know how to answer that question. Listen,
that's true too.
He's got women in his wake,
you're not along for the ride. So like, you have to admit to yourself that you're in a vulnerable state right now and you like this guy and you're trying to figure out, like, you're pretending to not care and you care. So I think you first need to admit that you give a shit about this guy and whether you can trust him or not, and then proceed from there. Stop pretending you don't care. Because you do.
Right. So, I mean, I care, but I
we gotta go.
Sarah, I don't mean to cut you off, but
I'm not invested.
Yes, you are. You're very invested, and we could probably talk about this, and I could argue with you for all day long. But like, you can agree to disagree, and this is just my humble opinion. But you definitely are invested. You care, and that is totally okay.
It's okay.
And I think you should embrace that, and you should own that. And as long as you don't own that, you're going to get yourself in a situation that's going to ultimately it's going to create a lot of heartache and pain and questions and anxiety and insecurities, and it's a really bad pattern. And the way you do that by pretending you don't care but actually caring, and you very much are invested. So
I think my problem is like overthinking things. Like I overanalyze everything.
No,
like,
listen, everyone.
That's not what it is.
My friend quest. Like why did he wait until he left to like delete this engagement status? Like it's the little things like that I overthink. And
Sure. Listen, we all
kind of where the problem comes into.
Sarah, we always overthink, everyone, whether you're an overthinker or not, when we are invested. Your problem is that you are pretending to not be invested when you are.
And not trusting your gut.
That is your immediate problem, and you're not trusting your gut. The rest is all like you're making excuses. So
you deserve the world. You don't deserve crumbs. You deserve the whole meal. He's giving you crumbs of affection. Who cares?
Yeah. Again, we don't really know, but what you just keep pretending that you don't care, and you do. So, all right.
Oh, I've been there, girl.
We've all been there, Sarah. All right.
All right.
You're going to be fine, but just be honest with yourself, okay?
I mean, I feel like I'm being pretty honest. I think it still comes down to this whole fiance thing.
No, it does.
Like,
Yeah,
my time with
because
him
care.
if he's still like invested in her or not. But I mean, I hear you guys, and
No, you don't.
I your input.
All right.
Thanks,
Sarah,
Sarah.
thank you so much for calling. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you. You too.
All right, bye-bye.
It was nice meeting you guys.
You
You too.
I mean, in all fairness, my guess is a lot of people listening can relate to Sarah.
I've been there.
We've been there. She just doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah. And like something my therapist has told me is like, I've felt like that with people like, oh my God, we have so much in common. It just feels so comfortable. And she's like, that comfortable feeling could be a bad pattern you're repeating and repeating in your life. Like
Totally.
It doesn't make him Prince Charming.
And the first time you connected with someone about something is probably a comfort that you haven't had, so it feels amazing.
Yeah. And
Every time, like, you know, especially as I've met different women, and from the, you know, my first relationship was my first, and so that was, and then your second one, inevitably you're gonna like them. They're gonna do things that your other one didn't. You're
Right.
like, oh God, I fucking love you. Like I've been starving for this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like only eating salty things. You just need a little bit of sweet, and you have it for the first time. Like,
oh my God.
God, this is amazing.
No one else in the world is like you.
You're a perfect. And so there's a little bit of that, but like more importantly, man, she just why some people are just afraid of to pretend they give like. We were talking about being a cool chick last chick.
The cool chick.
This is like a different type of cool chick.
It is a different type of cool chick. It's an epidemic.
I don't care, man. I just, I'm down to fuck.
Yeah.
I'm down to like, I'm emotionally not connected.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I mean,
like,
he did leave me post notes with like the nicest things I've ever heard in my entire life, but
I don't care.
I don't care.
Like, whatever. We're totally fuck buddies. Like he can, like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
If a guys, stop leaving post-its if you don't want to like get serious, because damn, that goes right to the heart. A good post-it, please. I'm gone for.
Fine, but stop being victims about like, call if you don't care, like a post-it note. I don't know. Like, yes, do I think guys sometimes, we talked about this before, do a little bit too much too early, that and they do romantic things that they actually don't stand behind emotionally?
Yeah.
Sure.
No, but it's on us to be like, okay, this is adding up. Yeah.
Ask some questions. And like, she's littered with red flags. It's only this about this fiance. It's like, well, shit. If he wasn't married and have 8 kids, then yes, it would be amazing. But he does. Like, I'm not saying this guy, but like,
if you're getting anonymous texts from women, maybe
it's a lot of drama.
Step back. Yeah.
But that all comes down to she absolutely cares, and she refuses to admit it.
I know.
So start admitting it.
Hi, my name's Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. How old are you?
I am 24.
Awesome. How can we help you, Ashley?
Okay, so my boyfriend and I met a little bit over 5 years ago when we were going to school together in Lincoln our freshman year. He came up from Texas and I'm from Nebraska. After our freshman year, he got a job back in Texas for the railroad, and so it was a really good opportunity. And so we did long distance for the next 3 years. When I graduated college, I made the tough decision to move down there for him. I'm very close with my family up in Nebraska, but I really wanted to be together. So I moved down there and we lived together for 2 years. And he ended up losing his job at the railroad, but they offered him a relocation about 4 hours from where we were living. And he had about a week to make the decision to take the job or not, and he ended up taking that relocation. And so I was left in Dallas by myself, and I was really upset that he took the relocation. And so I ended up moving back to Nebraska, and things were really unclear for us. And then about 2 weeks later, he lost his job again, and they offered him another relocation. And he ended up not taking it the second time and said, I'm not going to do that to you again. I'm going to move to Nebraska and move back up there with you. That was in early April, and it's September, and he's still not here yet. And I'm just getting to the point where I don't know if I'm stupid for still like hanging on and thinking that he'll be up here, or what's going on.
Did she mention the boat? That was a big part of the email, the boat.
Right.
Rochelle, holding her callers accountable.
So he's had a couple main excuses for why he's not here yet. The first one is that he was trying to get his unemployment funds squared away before he made the move. And then he's huge into fishing. And so he has a really nice fishing boat that has like a crack in it. And he says, when I'm in Nebraska, I won't really need my boat. And so that's been his excuse for the past several months, that he's going to move up here once his boat gets fixed. And he's been taking steps to get it fixed. But to me, it's just like, kind of figure it out, you know?
I don't know a lot about boats, but how many steps does it take, you know?
Right. Well, so the first part, it was that he was going to get it fixed through his, it was like still under warranty. And so he took it to a place out of state. And then a couple of weeks later, they came back and said, it's not going to be covered under warranty. And so then he was looking into getting it covered through insurance. And now he's just having like a family friend fix it.
Sure. All right. So other than the fact that I'm sure you love him and he's great and you guys have been together forever, what do you like about the relationship?
When we're together, it's perfect. He's my best friend. We've definitely had our differences, but they've always been just about like the distance and stuff like that. And so, I don't know.
He works on a railroad. He's probably hot. Don't you feel like railroad guys are hot? Am I right?
You know, I
mean,
physical labor.
Okay. It seems to be a real stretch of a generalization. What don't you like about the relationship, other than the fact that he's not there? I mean,
so for us, it's never been easy. We were together my freshman year of college, and then about 6 or 7 months later, we were long distance for the next 3 years. And so, I mean, for us, it's always been like always looking into the future. And I've just always been so focused on getting back to Nebraska with him and like always having that end goal in mind.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, it sounds from your story, it sounds like your whole relationship is kind of like you said, it's been this almost getting to this end game. You know, if you watch The Bachelor, it's obviously a much different story, but it's kind of how that whole process works is because it's all about kind of withholding time and love and competing against other things and trying to get to this place, in which creates a lot of emotions and feelings. You say, oh, well, he's my best friend and we have such a great time when we're with each other. I can only imagine, because you spend most of your relationship missing him.
Right.
And you were spending most of your relationship trying to figure out how to, as you say, get him to Nebraska, which I'm sure has a lot of stresses and anxiety, but it's also kind of very exciting and it keeps you motivated. And then every time you get closer to this goal, it makes you, that's an excitement in and of itself. And so I feel like a lot of your love for him and the relationship is based off of this idea of something and not the relationship itself.
Okay. Well, we did live together for 2 years.
Okay.
So like, yeah.
And how was that then?
It was only difficult because I didn't know anyone in Texas aside from him. But
when you lived together, how much was he traveling?
Did I travel?
How much did he, like when you lived together, was he like, were you guys spending pretty much every night together, or was he on the road a lot?
No. So his work schedule was kind of weird. And so he worked odd hours, and my hours were pretty standard, 8 to 5. And so we did get several nights together a week, but not every night, which was a stress too.
Gotcha. I mean, so listen, again, one of these things, like you got to trust your gut. I mean, use words like excuses. So to me,
the boat
in your heart, you know, it's an excuse. It's not a reason, right? And there's a difference between reasons and excuses.
So I say it's an excuse. He would say differently.
But you feel it's an excuse. You know, no,
Right.
I haven't met very many people who give excuses and say, "Well, this is a bullshit excuse," but I'm just gonna say it. No, not many people own up to that in the moment. Maybe after the fact, they're like, "Yeah, I guess maybe I was using that as an excuse." You know what I'm saying? So of course he's going to think it's a justifiable reason, and maybe in his head he even believes that.
Yeah, and so part of it too is though that like I said, this has been going on for so many months. Like I have given him so many opportunities to just say, like, tell me you're not coming. Like, it'll be fine. I understand. I won't hold it against you, but you just need to tell me.
Why are you giving him all this power?
Ooh, yes.
You know, like,
I don't know.
I mean, is your whole relationship based off of his willingness to move? You know, I mean,
yeah.
You know, you're invested I get it though. Like you've invested so many years in this idea. Like, how can you quit now? You know, and
right. Well,
it's like you're so far away, but you feel so close. It could happen tomorrow. I mean, he could pick up the phone today and say, "I'm moving to Nebraska."
That's the thing. His boat is like currently getting worked on, and it's just like it's hard for me to just walk away when it's so close. At least I think.
But is it really that close? Because the way that you're describing the situation, it seems that it would be reasonable for you to say, "I need you here in a couple weeks," because he could probably. Yeah. He doesn't have a job. Mm-hmm. He could probably make this happen if he really wants. And again, like that's up for him to decide whether he think that that's a fair request. You know, again, I don't know you guys, the dynamic, or you know, moving moving to Nebraska is a big ask.
A lot of fear. A lot of people have a lot of fear about moving.
But I do think a lot of people stay in relationships because we've been dating for so long, you know, and we're so invested, and you know. Yeah, I mean, do you think can you live without him? I mean, I know you can, but like, do you feel like you can, you know?
I mean, I suppose I can. I think it's also kind of difficult because we spent so much of our time like long distance, and so of course we've always seen like being together, being married as kind of the end game. And so I've been thinking that since I was a freshman in college, kind of like I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't see myself with him in the end. And
sure, I get that.
I think that's part of it too.
Yeah,
and you kind of had we all
best friend.
We, you know, I mean, that's why people made such a big deal about like when Juan Pablo's like, I've been searching for my wife since I was 18. Everyone's like, oh, that sounded so crazy. It wasn't that crazy. Once we turn 18, we kind of have this thought process. I'm not going to date someone unless I see a future with them.
Yeah,
it's all relative.
Yeah.
So I totally get where you're coming from. I mean. Are you on like are you basically I moved to Dallas and now it's like but I'm settling down in Nebraska? Is that like a non-negotiable for you? Or are you just like, well, all things being equal, if you're not working, let's be in Nebraska?
So I lived in Dallas for a couple of years and I really love Texas, but I'm someone who wants to get, you know, married and start a family within the next 4 or 5 years, and this is where all my family is, and I don't want to start a family like away from everyone that I know.
That's a reasonable thought, but also don't let that dictate your entire life. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like if you want to be in Nebraska, be in Nebraska. But even in this current relationship, or if this relationship doesn't work out, kind of, that's just one aspect. It's just like, it's like buying life insurance for a family you don't have type of thing. Like you don't plan so much for the life that you're not living yet. Right. You know, I get that you want to start a family when it's right and ideally sooner than later. But if you got to find the relationship first and you got to make that work. And again, if you want to be in Nebraska, that's something you want to be. But like, I want to be in a place where you can, if you have the right partner, you can raise a family anywhere. You're going to have it with each other and you'll make friends.
Yeah.
And you can always travel home to Nebraska.
Yeah.
And if you want to be in Nebraska, be in Nebraska. But it sounds like you guys just really aren't on the same page in terms of what you both really want. And then you're kind of getting in the weeds of like, he's not from Nebraska?
No, he's from like the Dallas area.
Yeah. I mean, my gut tells me he probably doesn't want to move to Nebraska.
He's scared.
So I know he doesn't want to move, and he's told me that. But he says that he would.
I don't think, yes, and that's great. And the fact that he may feel a little guilt about taking that job and then it not working out, and this, I don't want to do this to you again, and now he feels like he owes you one. And I think you kind of feel like he owes you one too. And I'm not saying who's right.
I do.
Yeah, I'm not saying who's right or wrong, but I can confidently say that's probably not a healthy approach to getting what you want, right? I don't think in any relationship it's about keeping score, or like I think it's about mutually, we talked about this last week about, being willing to be selfless and knowing that sometimes you have your own selfish needs and there's a balance, but it's not you can't keep score. Well, you did this and now I have to do this. And if you're constantly doing that, then it's just like, you guys ultimately, do you guys want the same things? I think maybe now there's a good time in your relationship to just be honest. Do we really want the same things? Are we going to be happy? Can we be happy? If he's going to be miserable in Nebraska, that's not a great start to a relationship. And by start to a relationship, I mean like one that's like, engagement, marriage, kids, right? And so you don't want a guy who's going to be miserable in Nebraska. And if you want to be in Nebraska, you got to find someone who's happy about that. And right now, like he wants to fish on his boat in Texas or whatever. And I get his point of view and I get your point of view. It's not right or wrong. It's just about communicating. I don't think you should stay in this relationship based off of your history. And I don't think you should stay in this relationship based off of you feel like you've invested so much and you're so close to getting what you want, because you're really not. I don't know. Because even if he moves to Nebraska tomorrow and he's miserable, you're really not really close to getting what you want. So I think you really just need to try to let go of all the things that have happened in the past and whose turn is it to make sacrifices or not, and try to make sure that, am I still on the same page with my boyfriend? Do we want the same things? Do we really love each other enough to both be happy with this type of relationship? Or is this someone I've really loved and grew up with and we have this connection and it's so hard to imagine him not being in my life, and therefore I'm holding on to something that's maybe not really going to be great in the future? I think those are the questions you should try to ask yourself more and be honest about that, and go from there. And stop letting him make all, like, you are giving him power by saying, well, just tell me, like, you break up with me if you don't want to be with me. You have to take ownership too of this relationship too. And if you can't just keep waiting for him to give an answer, because what it sounds like, if you give an ultimatum, he's going to move to Nebraska and be fucking miserable. He doesn't have a job. He's going to be in a town he doesn't want to be in. He's going to only know you as someone who is jobless.
Well, he has friends from college, but
Sure. But he's probably feeling unsettled about his employment, and that's not necessarily your problem, but these are all things that are going to create a lot of conflict and tension between you two. So I think you and him need to reassess together of, do we really want the same things from now going forward? And how much of our relationship are we basing off the things that we promised ourselves and each other from the past? So try to do that.
That's definitely helpful and valid to ask and talk about.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough transitional period, that right after college, and you guys are figuring each other out, and you guys have invested so much with each other, and sometimes it's a very scary situation. And I don't know if this is happening here, to maybe realize that your paths are verging apart rather than closer together. And it's hard to let that go because of all the conversation you've had leading up to this moment that was all about spending your lives with each other.
Yeah.
And that can be scary. So.
Yeah, it sucks.
It does. But
that's helpful.
What is worse is guilting each other into following through with promises you talked about, only to realize after you've been married that neither of you are happy, and then
you're blaming the other person,
and then being 27, 28 and divorced, maybe even with a kid, which is something you should try to avoid. So have these tough
Definitely.
conversations now, and again, focus on the future and stop trying to live up to the promises you guys made to each other in the past, because that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, that's very helpful.
All right. Well, thanks for
you.
calling. Best of luck.
Yeah.
You'll be fine either way. I'm certain of that. Just
Okay.
be open to what life will bring you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. I truly feel like the boat is a metaphor. In my mind, that's what I was getting from the
What do you
email.
mean?
Like it's like a metaphor for like procrastinating. Like once I fix the boat, then I'll come get you. And like
Sure.
the boat's never getting fixed.
Well, like I said, metaphor. What is it? It's an excuse,
Yeah, but
and he's pretending it's a reason.
right.
He might believe it's an actual reason. He just doesn't want to move.
Yeah. Oh, you're like, I feel like you could say that to other people. Oh, your boyfriend's going to come once he fixes the boat. Got it.
Sure. Also, she should be careful about him moving if he doesn't want to move.
Oh, that's going to be a disaster. My brother's girlfriend moved to be with him and she is miserable. I hope she's not listening to this, but she's not having any fun there. And that's bringing him down, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of those classic cases of a college relationship that invested so much of each other and made so many plans together, and
Yeah.
they just don't know
Yeah.
at this point if all that talk is gonna pan out the way they had hoped, and
I
that's
know.
scary, and it's hard to say goodbye to.
Oh, and she's like, and my plan is to get married and have children in the next 2 years. Like, well,
Now,
you might
she's
gotta
living up to
rethink
that plan. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, I'll have to start over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll probably say this ad nauseum, but like, there hasn't been a point in my life, even today, that I've learned, that perspective is that you always feel like, well, if I would have known this 2 years ago, I would have done that then, but now it's too late, kind of thing. Because we feel like, well, if I would have done that younger,
Yeah.
you always feel like, well, now I've invested so much, and how can I start over now? It's never too late to do what you want to do.
We're
and
always starting over.
we're always starting over. It's never too late to like reset, and it's never an excuse to keep doing what you're doing when you're not happy, because you feel like you've invested so much time. And I think that is just life perspective.
Yeah.
I mean,
You said it the other week about like getting your life all situated. Like everyone's always like, once I get my life, I'll play it. Like,
the rest of my life.
yeah,
I'll plan
get
it out.
the rest of my life.
I got to plan my whole life over the weekend. It's scary though too, because again, we have all these kind of social constructs of like, you're supposed to go to college. All the people who like want to go back to school.
Yeah.
Hard to do, but like if you're like in your mid-20s and you're like you feel too old to go back to school, no, you're not.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I just always wish that when I was younger, I would have not been afraid to start things, even though it felt in that moment like it was too late to start anew.
Anew.
It's amazing how like you never feel young. We talk like you never feel young. You never.
Yeah.
And especially after like 21, when you're like legally allowed to drink.
Yeah.
You never feel young after that. Because like before that, you're like, oh, I can't buy cigarettes because I'm not 18, or I can't drink because and you're reminded that you're too young to do something. But after 21, no one's like, oh, you're too young.
Yeah.
And so you then start only feeling old, and then everything up into that point in your life is about these experience. Like you go to high school, then you go to college, then you meet your boyfriend, and after that, there's no like set playbook for things. And then you feel like if you haven't done it then you can't go back and do it. But you can always go back and do things. Or if it's not working on a relationship, you can say goodbye and maybe meet someone new with the risk of not knowing who that person is.
Yeah.
And it may not happen right away.
Yeah.
But, I have a lot of friends who got married in their mid-20s and divorced in their late 20s.
Yeah.
And try to avoid that.
Yeah.
The last two callers a lot about investing in our emotions,
Uh-huh.
and it's hard to not do that.
Where to the point where reality isn't really in the picture.
Yeah, I mean, people. When I do questions with Nick, like a little like, well, I've been dating him for this long.
Yeah. It's investment.
And other than like our first caller, were like, oh, I've only been dating for 3 months.
3
months. Like that's like important because it's like, well, hey, you've only known him for a day. Don't get pregnant.
Yeah.
But I've dated this person for this long as a way to like, it doesn't really matter.
No.
And that's great. And it's cool. Like if you're happy to be like, oh, 30 years of engagement. Congratulations.
Ooh,
but like, well, we've been dating for this long, so I don't really want to like.
Can't get out now.
Is it good now? And listen, if you are married and you've had given vows to each other, like you need to work through your hard and tough times. But before that, you're living up to like, well, we said this and we promised each other that, and I planned on this, and this is part of my plan. And I told myself I was going to be engaged when I was 26, and like I can't fuck up that plan.
I know exactly what my dress is going to look like when I walk down the aisle.
That's a great way of being miserable in about 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's tough to do. So let's not try to do that.
Yeah. And be honest with yourself, people.
Don't do what I did. You'll be single forever. But there's a balance. There's a balance.
I love how you got engaged after like 12 days with someone and you're like, 3 months is too soon.
It's not the same.
I know. It's just funny.
And no, it wasn't 12 days. It was
Pretty much.
9 weeks.
Well, how many of those days did you spend with her? Just to be honest,
I mean, Ken, I'm not here saying that people should do that. Meanwhile, we get called like, go on The Bachelor. Also, yes, I have made mistakes through the years, and we're trying to share our life experiences to help other people out.
Yeah. We've all made mistakes.
As always, thanks for listening. We continue to need your questions, especially you 10%ers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Email us at asknick@cast with a K, media.com. Without your questions, we can't do this kind of wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're enjoying it. We always appreciate you sharing our podcast on your social, giving us 5 stars, all of the above. Until next time, thanks so much for listening. We will see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.